Thank you, Nanayo. Thank you. We're learning about quantum physics, but I think in us, we always have these vibrations, you know, the frequencies, and attracting, you know, what you are feeling, you know, the vibration, the frequency, and things like that. But thank you very much. Are there any comments on this presentation? If there's a comment, please raise your hand.
Yes, I have a comment.
Yes, thank you. I had my hand up from early.
Okay.
Do I have the floor?
Siphiwe, Baba Siphiwe or Puti Siphiwe?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank our professor for such a great presentation. This is exactly why I wanted to attend this event, so that I could have these high-level discussions with my comrades who understand these things. I just want to point to one very particular and valuable example of what was just discussed, which is Rastafari's Nayabingi drumming. I want to remind everyone again, we started the conversation by talking about fragmentation. And indeed, the greatest and most devastating fragmentation happened literally taken from their families, their land, their village, their history, their ontology, in every way suffered ethnocide and fragmentation, separation from all that connected them naturally to their lineage, their systems of jurisprudence, ontology, epistemology, all of that. Now, from within that milieu, those Afro-descendants, came the Rastafari movement and people that used a particular drumming based on 3 drums, a bass, fundi, and kete, that were designed to affect the heartbeat, affect the amygdala, the medulla oblongata, and the prefrontal cortex, to intentionally put us in a trance state and take the most fragmented people and neurolinguistically reprogram them to a holy order of African liberation. When this science was practiced in Nayabingi sacred ceremonies, they enhanced it by the ritual use of the ganja sacrament, where they took the 4 elements of creation, earth, air, water, and fire, right? They took the earth, the ganja plant, they put it in a kuchi pipe that had coconut water in the bottom. Then they took the element of fire and applied it to the earth, and then took the element of air, the breath, to draw it into the kuchi so it could be filtered through the water. And that purified energies of creation then entered into the temple of the body in the trance state. Then the chanting was specifically designed to reprogram the subconscious towards what? An asar, a divine king, repatriation, being purified, ready, clean hands and pure hearts. When you look at the lyrics of the over 150 Nayabingi chants, they all center around 5 topics to reprogram the consciousness of those that had suffered the most damage and the ethnocide that was not suffered by the Africans on the continent. So in concluding what I'm saying, by looking and studying the specific application of what was just presented, right, to Afro-descendants, and why it is that among the 250, why there is a group of people that have done the most to what? Point to Pan-Africanism, point to returning to the continent, point to what? A natural liberty to use African resources. That was done by African spiritual science that was just explained. And I put a link to an article where I discuss this for those of you who are interested. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, my hand is up.
Okay, Baba Penny, go ahead. And you may co-host also. After this one, I think Dr. Christian is coming back on. Thanks.
Yeah, I like these presentations today as if one of our core mission goal is to demystify what for so long, because of foreign religions that has been dumped upon us as like if they are our own, has made it difficult for us to understand certain things that we talk about. And for that matter, I really loved this presentation too, for putting it in the context of the language we hear mostly, like science language, which makes it not difficult for people to understand, especially those that have done science. I know those who haven't done science, still, it doesn't become strange when we talk about darkness, we talk about light, we talk about all these things. They are just simple frequencies that, work for things to happen. And I like it for that matter that we are trying to make things phenomena become simple to understand, and which when we understand, this is what causes creativity to happen. In fact, we are stagnant. Just as Nana said that all these foreign texts that people are reading, whether Abrahamic or wherever they come from, they may make meaning for those people within their culture. But with from Africa, it is totally different. And even those that were people say that they were copied or they were stolen, they have actually distorted this information. So any information that is distorted, what can you do with it? It will rather harm you. So thank you, Nana, for the way you have presented this, making it far easier to understand by some of us. I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Baba Penny. And any more comments?
Yes, I
Any
have my
questions?
hand raised up.
Okay, let's go. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Greeting to my brother and sister in this forum. I highly appreciate Nana presentation. He talked about things that are very hard to understand, but he tried to use the quantum physics to explain it. Things are not so far simple to understand. We are about 28 people in this webinar. I think that I suggest that such webinar supposed to be broadcasted on the radio level or TV for more people to have access in the comprehension of our religion. Our religion is what God give to us black people to worship. The Asian, they have Buddha, Buddhism also, and so forth. But we have our traditional religion, and we don't need to praise the foreign religion. We have our own religion and worship our gods, our ancestors. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. And Sis Bola, you're back. Can you take over? And
I'm not
I
back
think,
yet. Madam.
Okay.
oh, you're not back yet. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so there's Lona, Baba Christian. Baba
Yes.
Christian, your hand is up, and I think your presentation is coming up. Is
Is
that
it?
for the presentation?
No. This is a comment on Brother Nana's
Okay.
very insightful commentary or presentation, if I may say, or shall we say, his academic presentation. With your permission, I want to go back, take a step back to Kluger Michael's, shall I say, questions about identity, because I think that it needs to be addressed. And I won't spend too long on that. But what I like to say is that there is a difference in terms of perception when it comes to identity. There is a difference between how Africans on the continent, I'm not saying Brother Kluger shares this, I'm just saying that there is a fundamental difference between how our brothers and sisters of the continent, especially those who have never traveled outside the continent, how they perceive themselves, and how those of us who were part of them and who have then traveled outside and have lived in Eurocentric systems, whether it's in Europe, America, Australia, wherever, and how we perceive ourselves. And I think it is important that those of us who have traveled out also share this with our brothers and sisters, because there's a vast difference in how the two groups perceive themselves. Now, to be very brief, before I came to England, I knew I was a black man, but I did not really understand what it meant. And in my language, we say "Nyenye ameyibo," which means that we say we are black people. I can't say before. The Gan say medijinjiwo. Now, all these basically express the idea, the fundamental idea, that in terms of identity, we see ourselves as black. Now, when you come to England, the meaning of black takes a different complexion. And that meaning is not shared by people like us, because we have no understanding of what it means to be inferior. This is very important. Now, remember that our experience as Africans from the motherland is not the same as the understanding of our African Caribbean and other Africans. We, those like me who have come from the continent, have no history, if you like, of direct, especially given our age. So some of us were born during the struggle for independence. So we did not experience what some of our parents experienced in terms of they being sometimes classified as animals. The idea that one is an animal, is not a human being, is not an experience that some of us were inducted into. Therefore, we have no understanding of what it means to be inferior. So some of us have never seen ourselves as inferior to anyone. You see, and this self-perception identity is important. And so when we hear of people who say they are superior, for us, it is philosophical and ideological nonsense, because it doesn't make sense to us. There is no way that we are inferior to anyone. Now, that being the case, then I want to then refer to a few things that are of historical importance, because the discussion I'm raising now goes to the heart of who are you. And I think Brother Kluger raised that question. Who are you? You see, and who you are, or who you think you are, is central to how you perceive yourself, etc., etc. Now, in that light, I want to say this from my experience. It is not true that, this is from my experience, it's not true that non-white people think that we are inferior. From the interactions I have had, it's the opposite. They love how we look. They love our color. They love everything about us. You could say that to some, in a sense, you have, as an African, what they can never have in terms of material existence. Yeah. So one can go to the beach and dry oneself like fish in order to get a tan, and then but you are born naturally with it. You know. So for a civilization that always seeks to go into the sun and be suntanned, that should tell you something. So I'm saying that my experience has never been that I have ever been seen as inferior. We have never been seen as inferior. But you hear this all the time, that we are inferior, we are seen as inferior. That has not been my experience. Then, in terms of the knowledge system, let's be clear. The knowledge on this planet has come from us. Yeah. Remember that the Greeks themselves say that it was the Africans that civilized them. These are the Greeks themselves, although some see it as mythology. But even when you look into the history of mathematics, you will see, for instance, that the Greeks themselves, yeah, say that they learned geometry from the Africans. Yeah, and these Africans that they describe are not white Africans. Yeah, they are dark Africans. Yeah, they are black Africans. This is what the Greeks themselves have said. And this is why Martin Bernal took the entire establishment on from Cambridge to the US to say that what they have done is to manufacture Greece as the origin of civilization, and that the Greeks themselves never said that. So who are you? You are the fathers and the mothers of civilization. That is who you are. So stop seeing yourself as inferior. Now, in terms of learning, the Greeks can also argue that when they came to our priests to learn, I'm referring to Socrates, Plato, Archimedes, name them, yeah? Pythagoras, name them. They came to Africa to learn. They can also argue that, well, look at these Africans. Oh, we have our own language. And yet when we go to Africa, we have to learn, their language. You sometimes think that Greece is a foreign language without realizing that when we say Greece, a Greek is not always a white person. Historically, a Greek has not always been white. Euclid, the father of mathematics, if you want to put it that way, or the father of geometry, was an African. He is an African. He was born in Africa, he lived in Africa, died in Africa. His book, The Elements, was a mathematics textbook for about 2,000 years before modern geometry took over. You see, so I am saying that some of the lamentations that we are hearing today about this so-called Western knowledge, the Greeks could have also said the same thing that we are saying now. And yet, what they did was they came to learn it from us, and then they, if you like, altered it for their circumstances. Nothing stopping we Africans, from having got back what was already ours anyway. You understand? To also alter it for our benefit. So I thought I should mention that, because the self-denigration is too much for some of us who are living here. When we hear a lot of self-denigration, we are like, hold on, that is not how the world really sees you. Yeah, just because somebody tells you you are inferior doesn't mean that is what he really thinks about you. It may just be that they're afraid of you. They think you are superior. They think that they can never be like you, and so they want to be like you. They know they can never be like you, so then goes into jealousy, etc., etc. The final point I want to make is on Nana's presentation. So I suppose what I'm saying is that NATAV must deal with this question of identity. Yeah, must deal with it. Yeah, because if the PRO is raising questions, fundamental questions about who they think they are, then they ought to deal with this question. And we are happy to work with them to clarify who we think we are. Then on the question of quantum physics, can I let you all know that conscientism has, in fact, for conscientism, physics, both Einsteinian physics and quantum physics of Niels Bohr is a big thing. So all that Nana has said, I would like to confirm, is what the new consciousness that Nkrumah wanted us to have. Basically, that is what we have just heard. And I agree with is it Dr. Ansett, yeah, who spoke before me, that we need to make this better known. We need to let more people know about this, because when the CPP government of Ghana, when they initiated public ceremonies, it was always started with the pouring of libation. That has always been the case. Then the Christians would pray, the Christian prayer and the Islamic prayer. So the drums, the prayer, the libation, everything he has said is in place. Can I just also then finally say that I endorse what Brother Siphiwe has said about the Rastafari, etc. I must say, though, that part is new to me, so I also have to learn. But can I also just quickly say that, please, do not think that Abraham was white, okay? For all you know, Abraham was a Yoruba man, yeah, or a Zulu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Christian. Yeah, Abraham was a Zulu man. Okay.
Abraham Bezulu.
Okay. Baba Ben, go ahead and continue. Let us continue with the program. You are the co-host, I see.
I think
Baba Ben, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Prof Kwame will come, take over, continue, and then deliver your paper.
So I should go to part 2. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that I was going to. I thought I would be asked not to present today, but thank you for thank you for. So this is part 2 of my presentation. Those who weren't here for part 1, I talked about Jesse. And I talked about Eli or Eli or Mauli, the shrine of Mauli. It's not what they tell us. Sometimes they make us think that the history that is recorded in the Bible is not ours, etc., etc. So this is still part 2 of my presentation for today, the Jesse of the Divine, symbolic mathematics, and the internal monitor in sacred, in African secret pedagogy. Thank you very much. Earlier I talked about the experience of our brother Samuel in the shrine of Mauli, or Eli, the priests. And then I talk about Pet Heru. And so I want to talk now about Afa. We call it Afa. Some say Ifa. So this is a living combinatorial system. And the Yorubas, or the Yoruba, I don't know if you know, but Dr. Sophie, sorry, remember her surname, she has passed away now, but she, I believe, was one of the first women to get a PhD in philosophy in Nigeria. And she's a Yoruba woman. She's late now, and she's written on philosophy, and she's also written on the progenitor of the Babalawo system, or the Afa system, called Orunmila. And for those who are interested, it's an interesting history because, oh, by the way, my presentation is more conversational rather than presenting a paper, reading a paper. So I'll be having a conversation with us. And Orunmila, for those of you who have looked at it, or those who would like to look into it, Orunmila, if you look at the history, it turns out that has the same background as Socrates. Interestingly, they both did not write anything, and they were also, I believe, blacksmiths, and so on. And what Socrates said, we don't really know. It was his student called Plato who later told us what Socrates actually said. So we have to take his word for it. But Socrates himself didn't write anything. But from what we know, the teachings that came from Socrates were also mathematical, and they were called the good. So I am saying that the Orunmila, from whom comes the Afa system, has the same pedigree as Socrates. Yeah. So what it means is that the idea that only that which is written down counts as scholarship is not accepted by us, because we know Socrates didn't write. And yet the West, or Eurocentric West, will say that their knowledge is the best, the highest, whatever. Yeah. And yet Socrates didn't write anything down. So the Afar is like a matrix. It has 16 principal Odu. I'm not saying I'm an expert on this, so I'm happy to learn more. There are 16 principal Odu, which combine to generate 256 fundamental signatures of reality. And in a way, that is an algorithm, because the Babalao, if you go to his or her shrine, it's normally he anyway, So they have these things that they throw on the ground, and that is a form of ritual, and they are symbols. And so what then happens, there is a discernment of what the Odu are saying, and then the Babalao then is able to interpret it, and then from that interpretation then provides prescriptions that ensure communal flourishing. So as I understand it, they are able to do afa on an individual basis if you go to them, but they also do it on a communal basis. So a community that is going through whatever they are going through can go to the shrine and the Babalao's base, and the Babalao will do this for them. So the idea here then is that, and in fact, we are now hearing that the Afa actually has roots to quantum, to the binary system, to computing, etc., etc. And if you are interested, there are some scholars who have written on this. But the point here is that you have the mathematician priests. So the Babalao is actually a mathematician priest, and so the Babalao is not guessing. Yeah, he's engaged in a ritual, and out of that ritual comes answers. So in a way, the Babalao is doing calculations. So that is the Afa system. And the Afa is in Yoruba, but it's also in Everland. Meaning that we also do Afa. As I said earlier, some of the problems we have as to why these have not been as pervasive as they should be is because those Africans who were privileged enough or lucky enough, however you want to put it, to have education, and you remember initially they were all men, yeah? So men, it was boys that went to school, not girls earlier, that they went to Christian schools, so-called Christian schools, where the system frowned on indigenous practices. You see, so the interface, the accessibility interface for accessing what we are discussing, like Afa, that door was shut to our brothers and sisters, if you go back, who went to these mission schools. And this is still happening today, where you find in the Christian community, there is an aversion to these things. And yet, this is where the solution is. And so what we need, which I think NATAV is working on, is to explain that these are not evil, they are not demonic, they are not bad, they are ours, they belong to us, they are scientific. So that is what that is saying. And in my part 1, I talked about cultivating the internal monitor. And I explained that in mathematics, scholars have written, scholars like Mason and so on, have written on something called the internal monitor. And the idea is that if you are solving mathematical problems, you can better able solve them if you are in tune with something inside you they call the internal monitor. Now, it turns out that this internal monitor, if you like, another word for it is a conscience, or the still small voice, or the talking of the abosom when you go to the shrine and you speak any language to them, and they will reply in a language that you understand. It doesn't matter what language you can go and speak. It doesn't matter what language you speak. When you go to the shrine, they will speak to you back in your language. And that internal monitor, if you like, is a mathematical phenomenon. Now, from what Brother Asamoah has told us, it is also a quantum physicist phenomenon. So what it means is that we, through the internal monitor, engage in cognitive processing and at the same time spiritual calibration. And for those of you who are familiar, mathematics ultimately, some say, is a science of patterns. That's what mathematics is. You basically are looking for patterns in reality. Yeah, and that pattern is what you are experiencing. So ultimately, the formula, the symbolic expressions that we get, whether it's an equation, whether it's just an expression, and so on, that these are basically patterns that we have investigated and discovered and put in symbolic form. And we ourselves are also patterns, and so on. So we shouldn't be afraid of mathematics. But the way mathematics has been taught to us is really frightening a lot of us. And students, when they see them or they hear the mathematics teacher is coming to class, their spirits go down, because it just doesn't align with their rhythm. It doesn't align with something inside them. The way it is being presented, this symbolic mathematics that is being presented to them, does not resonate with what is inside them, and rightly so. So the problem solving requires pattern recognition. It also requires combinatorial thinking, where we are combining things like the Babalawo is doing. And then comes metacognition, because in a way, the internal monitor is almost like, it's like metacognition. Meta means it is that which is organizing the reality around you. And yes, I am saying that this is a mathematical, according to the mathematicians or the mathematical educationists, that this is a mathematical thing that we all have, and all of us have it. So the internal monitor. So then we have the spiritual calibration, where there's relationship with. Remember, I mentioned Orunmila. So Orunmila, according to the legend or the mythology, was an actual human being like Socrates was. And just like Socrates, Orunmila also represents wisdom. Yeah, wisdom. And so combinatorial thinking then links up with accountability to the ancestors. And I think things like the entanglement that our brother mentioned then should make this clear to us, that when, for example, you pour a libation. Now, libation is a liquid. That's a scientific, phenomenon. The libation itself has mathematical dimensions, by which I mean it is so many milliliters, etc., etc. So these are mathematical objects. That's the point I'm making. Yeah. And so when you are interacting with these mathematical objects, in a way, you are also accounting to the ancestors. Yeah. And then metacognition, which is that which is organizing what you are seeing, what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are eating, what you are drinking, mathematically or spiritually, if you like. That internal monitor also helps with verification. It verifies to you through the voice inside you, yeah, whether what you are doing or saying is on the right path. So I am saying that all of us here have this capacity. It's inside all of us. You could argue that symbolic mathematics today is an attempt to cut us off from this capacity that we all have. That was not the intention, but the way in which mathematics has used algebra itself being an Islamic invention, that the way it has used it has led to a fragmentation between the African and the reality around him or her. So I'm saying that all of us here have it, and that we ought to be cultivating this internal monitor. It is not foreign to us, and that is why the Greeks themselves said to you that they learn these things from you, the African. Yeah. Of course, we can argue historically and say that why did the Moors go to Spain to deposit our knowledge system there? Why didn't they come south? Why did they go north? Why didn't they come south and basically use that knowledge which belonged to us? When you look at the history, you see that again and again, our knowledge systems are taken outside. When they came and enslaved us, they took our best. They took our philosophers. They took our logicians. They took our priests. They took our most advanced men and women of learning. Those are the people they took away, or some of the people they took away. Yeah, we are talking here about giants. Yeah, giants, people who when they stand, frightens people, if you like. Yeah, just from their fear, physical presence, as heavyweight boxing will tell you, as it's been dominated by the African. So I'm saying that these things are us. It belongs to us, that we need to cultivate them and not be afraid of mathematics. Because what Nkrumah says, and we'll come to that in my paper 2 tomorrow, what Nkrumah is saying, Africans, is that unless you guys, unless you take mathematics seriously, because there is no science higher than mathematics, you see. There is no science higher than mathematics. Because everything that brother Asamoah has said about quantum physics, everything he said has been possible because of mathematics. Physics is not possible without the language of mathematics. You see? So Nkrumah says, and in chapter 5, we'll come to that tomorrow, that we have to take mathematics seriously, which I'm afraid we don't. And more broadly, the mathematical sciences, which I include statistics and what you call actuarial science, algebra. These are all different fields. We need to take them seriously. Nobody can be an expert in everything, but take one that you like. Take one that resonates with your spirit. It could be geometry. It could be algebra. It could be ratio and proportion. It could be statistics. It could be probability. Just choose one and develop cultivate the internal monitor. Now, the ancestors are always speaking to you. Yeah, Brother Samuel has made that clear. The energies are all around us. We just have to tap into them. Yeah, so that is what this is telling us. Tade, magbagbrombede, mi ejaba miakwe ajesi, or miakwe ajesi, meaning that I am saying that we need to understand the symbols. Jesse is symbol, yeah, symbol. SYMBOL, and that we need to link up. We need to link up. We need to hear it's speaking to us, but some of us are not listening because of the noise around us. But we need to go into that silence and hear the internal monitor, the ancestral voice, the silent, the still small voice that our brother, I believe it was Elisha, heard when he ran away because he thought he was going to be killed. And then he ran away to the mountain, only to find that the still small voice was there, the internal monitor was there. And how you will interact and come face to face with the internal monitor will depend. Moses, his initially was a bush that was on fire. Again, that is mathematical. We heard what Nana said, the fire. We heard what brother Siphiwe said, that the Rastafari adding fire, etc., etc. So there are many paths to hearing the voice, to getting to know the internal monitor. But you have to be alert, because ultimately we cannot solve the problems of the 4IR, the fourth industrial revolution, if we don't listen to the internal monitor. Because the forces of global capitalism, if you want to put it that way, also want your attention. So they're also speaking to you through many, many paths. Yeah, through Facebook, through TikTok, through YouTube, through Instagram, name it. Everybody wants your attention. But then so does the ancestors. They also want your attention. So that is what this slide is saying. So then, if you bring all the three together, then we have Eli or Eli or Mauli. Mauli or Eli, if you like. If you want to say it in an objective sense, you say that which is. So, in other words, I am that I am. That is what it means. Eli. This is my language, by the way. I'm from West Africa. Yeah. So, Eli. So that which has always existed. In the past, before some of us believe we emigrated south, because there are some arguments that we did, because remember Abraham's grandchildren were slaves in northern Africa before they came to West Africa to take over the land that Canaan had occupied, whereas his father Noah did not give him that land. That is why they had to fight the war, right? So those of our brothers and sisters who are in ancient Egypt, if you like, they also had Petemeru, the book of the coming forth. It's the same thing, as I explained in part 1. Yeah, it's the same thing. The underlying architecture is the same. Then the Afa. So in Eli, we have the internal monitor hearing. Petemeru are the, if you like, the algorithms, the vectors in every direction, or the coordinates of life, and then the verifications, and then Afa, which is the combinatorial system, where we are now using the mathematics, the code, if you like, the app, if you like, to read and give answers to real problems. So there's a priority of discernment, listening before acting, immersion in symbolic. So I'm reading the texts